Hey guys, I'm Jacinta and welcome to the Fearlss podcast, where I interview athletes who achieved incredible things and specialists in the area of health. On today's podcast, I speak to the first athlete in 80 years to represent Australia at the Commonwealth Games for discus and hammer throwing. He's an incredible athlete. His PB for discus is 65.47 meters. And for hammer throwing, it's 74.88 meters. They're incredible throws. And on the podcast today, he shares what it takes to get to that level of an athlete. I'd like to welcome Matty Denny. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, my pleasure. Now, I've just been telling the listeners all about your accomplishments, and last year you placed 6th at the World Champs.
Yep.
That's a huge achievement. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, it was 2019 was a pretty good year for me. Like, we just slowly progressed really well after Com Games, and we made a lot of changes in end of 2017. So it was just sort of like a showing of what we've been working on. It was just very consistent, and like we had World Unis as well, won World Unis, and just had a really good consistent season on breaking barriers and stuff. So it was, really fun.
Yeah, it'd be super exciting to get to like that, to have that experience and that opportunity as well.
Yeah, well, we got to travel a lot. Like, I got to travel a lot, which was really nice. And like new places. Like, I'd never been in Italy before. Went to Italy, competed World Unis, and then did a lot of Sweden again. And then just sort of and Paris, a few comps in there, and just sort of back and forth around the place. And then first time in Doha for World Championships, so that was a new learning experience. Yeah, it's good. That's why I love the sport, because you get to do what you enjoy doing, but also get to travel the world while doing it. So
yeah, seeing new things.
Yeah, exactly.
And so tell me about, like, where did this all begin?
Yeah, so I grew up in Allora, so a small town, less than 1,000 people, sort of like southwest from Brizzy, about 2.5 hours. And I was playing footy a lot. I was doing swimming, I was doing athletics just for fun. Like, I was sort of like, here, throw this, because I was the biggest kid in the school and threw further than them. But then I sort of got to a point in grade 6 and 7, so I got dead last in the state at state champs, which was a great starting point. But I got sick of that. Like, I wanted to have the structure and understand the sport and understand the technique that's involved in the training and that. And then so I ended up getting a coach.
Is this with discus or?
Discus shot, and I didn't start hammer until I was about grade 9, so about 14, 15. But at that time it was just shot and disc, so I got dead last in both. And then I decided to get a coach in grade 8, so 13 so we had Darling Downs trials, and then from there you go to state champ. So I got selected, I won, and then I ended up finding a coach named Graham Pitt, and then we ended up starting working together about 2 months before state champs, and then ended up going from last in the state the year before to 4th in discus, and then I think I got like 7th in shot, and then progressed, and then 2 months later I got 2nd at nationals, so my first national medal. So it just sort of started to go from there, and then the year after started to win more, and then progressed, and then by the time, so that was starting 2009, and by the time 2013 came around, I won my first world champs. So it's just slowly progressed from there, and like when I was in grade 10, I made a decision to stop playing footy and just solely focus on athletics. I did some swimming here and there, but it wasn't very
And
committed.
do you think over like the years it's been, to get to the level that you're at, it's been consistency with training, or is it been definitely like your coach been hounding you saying this is what needs to happen? Or
Pitty was a really good coach in the fact that he was very avid on technique, so very focused on progressing technical work and understanding and learning the event, not just being told how to do it. It's actually, well, this is how you do it and this is why, and understanding the physics and the technical side of why we do this, and how it creates more force and produces more power through the throw. So understanding that, which was really good, because now where I am at the moment, I progress really, really well for my age, considering that, throwing is an old man's sport because of the technical and strength application. So like usually peak age is till like 28 and beyond. So the fact that I'm at the technical level I am now was because of that, is because of I was able to understand and apply things mentally without having to do much work. I just understood and had good proprioception through my body to apply that. So yeah, that was the main thing, and like I was so committed to doing it. Like I'm still obsessed with it. But when I was a kid, it was ridiculous. Like every waking minute, I was either watching videos or learning about it or trying to do something new or just figuring it out, because it's just a puzzle. You're just trying to figure out different moving parts, because you might fix one thing and then the next thing will stuff up because you did that right and you got new forces and you're doing things correctly, so then the front stuffs up and then you have to piece that to get that and then you try something again, and it's trying to connect all the dots. Is that with the 3 sports or just... That's with all of them, yeah. So like with all the throws, you just have so many moving parts that it's like... I believe, like, especially discus, is probably the most complex track and field event, and also just a sport in general, in the fact of like technical application.
I remember, I haven't told you yet, but like I used to do discus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as a and I went to state and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember getting taught by my coach, like it's like all with the feet and then the knees and then the hip and the momentum, and there is a lot of technical that is involved. And if you're just, willy-nilling it, like...
Yeah, exactly. Like we always used to say when I was a kid, like I always used to do backyard style. Like I'd go down with mum and dad to the throwing style. I would just try and throw the hell out of it, and it wouldn't... I'd be just trying to literally arm it. But yeah, then understanding on the fact that like predominantly the work is done with the legs and the feet. And then, you're trying to do a rotational movement as well as a linear movement, as well as a vertical movement, as well as a rotational movement all at the same time. Like you've got all those moving parts while you're trying to... Like in golf, they talk about X factor, so where your hips are to your shoulders, so to create tension and torque. So like you're always trying to keep that, as well as progressing the speed of the throw, keeping the feet and the knees and the hips in front of the shoulders. You're trying to have good posture. You're trying to stay locked in the shoulders. You're not trying to let things come forward.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to go, it's controlled chaos. You're trying to go absolutely full pace and destroy the thing, but while trying to be elegant in the technical side of things. So that's what I like, mate. Like that's what pins me to it, because it's just like you're forever searching. So yeah,
it's like the same thing, but you're trying to just master that one movement.
Exactly. Yeah, like with like league or like other sports, like team sports and stuff like that, you have the technical elements of like kick, pass, but it's more like plays and adapting on the fly through in the game and all that sort of stuff. But with especially athletics in general, and other like individual sports where it's a singular movement, you're just trying to perfect it so much and be so efficient in that so you can create a good performance. So it's very pure in its sporting essence of performance in that sense. So that's what I love about it.
So like what you were just saying with the discus, like generate the power and it's all in the legs. Do you do a lot of leg training?
Yeah, so we do a lot of, it's a so we talk about a scale. So if you have just like normal seesaw, you have max strength on one side and you have speed on the other, and then when it's balanced you have power. So it's trying to balance those two and find the happy medium, because if you're too strong then you're slow. You don't have the right adaptation for like neural muscle recruitment and being able to be fast and actually explosive. But then if you've got too much speed, then you actually don't have strength to counter the weight, move the weight and sort of dominate it while trying to do the movement. So it's trying to balance those two. So we do a lot of leg work, but we also do a lot of everything's balanced throughout my whole body. So I'm as strong in my legs, I'm strong in my shoulders, I'm strong in my abdominals, arms, all that kind of thing. So you have to...
A solid unit.
Yeah, like that's the cool thing. The thing I love about athletics is discus and throws, you have to be a full athlete. You have to be, first off, good at throwing. Like you have to be actually good at knowing where your body is, being balanced, and knowing that technical side of things. You need to be able to pretty much balance like a ballerina. You need to be as strong as an ox. Like, you need to be extremely strong.
Yeah.
And then you need to be explosive, good standing longs, good 30s to 60s. Most really top throwers should be able to beat most sprinters off the first 30 to 60.
Really?
Probably not 60, more 30. Just that immediate snap
Power.
out of the blocks and that power that's generated. Just, that's that sort of adaptation you need. And then, everything else in between, you need to be a full athlete, not just good at lifting things and throwing things really hard. You need to be a full athlete to do that. So, yeah.
It sounds sort of like the CrossFit in the
Yeah,
athletics.
exactly. Yeah, you've got so many different parts, and you need to be flexible as well. And it's just that whole different ballpark. Like, I'm not saying sprinters are less than, but like a lot of the sprinters that I know and work with, they do a lot of, like, they do their sprints work, they do some of their jumps work for explosive stuff, and then they have their gym, but it's it's more linear in that. But
they're trying to be lighter and
with throws you have to understand all aspects of what it takes to actually throw far. Like, I have to do gymnastics part of my program to just learn. We do balance beam work where I turn on the balance beam, eyes closed, and trying to like feel my feet.
Oh, really?
Just like real fine like proprioception stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're moving, like it takes less than 2 seconds to do a throw. It takes a second if you go from when your right foot picks up and goes through. So you're trying to do that really fast, but also have such an aware brain that if you need to make an adjustment like that off the fly, like from your transfer from the back to the center, then you can quickly make those little adjustments and know where you are instead of just blindly going through, because you can't see anything. You're literally just turning and throwing.
So you know that, like when you've taken off straight away.
Yeah, I can usually by the time, like, just say if we're talking out of the back of the circle, so when I turn and rotate out of the back to go to drive to the center, most of the time I can tell if by the time my left foot lifts is that of whether I've done it right or not. And then
can you compensate? Like, let's say you're in
yeah, sometimes sometimes you can compensate. So say we call it falling out of the back. So if that's center and I'm turning around, I want to shift around my left axis and then drive to the center. But if I fall out of the back, my left shoulder goes early and I dive. So usually to like if you can counteract it while you're in the throw, usually you try and sit up more during when you get to the center to try and counteract it. You're going to lose power. You're not going to throw as far, but it's just like those small adjustments and like, okay, well, this has just happened, so I need to make sure that this is right to hit the throw at least half decently. So yeah.
And that's the cool thing about it being the same thing again and again and again and again, is you learn how to be, like what you said.
Yeah, we just understand it so well. Like you've murdered the throw by the time it comes out of your finger. You can just feel the tension build up. You feel that you hit these points correctly and that it just comes effortlessly off your finger. That's usually when your best throws come out. So when it feels effortless, that's the best stuff. So
And do you, like what you were saying before about like sprinting,
Yep.
do you do any of that? Like I remember like my coach, he used to get me out and I used to be running and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
but
so we do single leg, double leg, bounding and all that sort of stuff, and like ankling work. So like just rigidity through Achilles and ankles and shins, and just making sure that they're strong, as well as we do 30s. Not as much during the off season, just because there's like a lot of accrual of load just with in general strength training. So we try and stay away from the real damaging work, just because that like high velocity stuff where I'm 133, so just having that high velocity stuff when you're doing sprints and jumps can be damaging. So it's sort of picking when and where to do that without having too much load. So it's just basic load management with your body and being smart about not getting injured. So we do those. The main ones we do is like standing longs and like single leg box jumps and double leg box jumps and stuff.
Single leg box jumps?
Yeah. So just set box and you're trying to jump.
How high can you jump?
My best double foot is like 2 leg with a step in is 144.
Holy.
So it's about like here on me.
That's like, I'm 170, so that's like probably my mouth.
Yeah.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, and then, and then like my best standing long's 333 and stuff like that. So that's what I mean by like you have to be like efficient in everything. Like you can't be just good at throwing, good at lifting. You have to be at least moderately decent at all the other events. So if you're challenging other athletes in their like supposed area of expertise, then that's when you know you're going to be throwing really, really well because do you
do any like endurance work? Like let's say a 5K run, how would you go?
The last distance run I did would have been 2017 and I maybe did 4K.
Yeah. How'd you go?
Oh, I was okay. More interval stuff. But it's definitely not the life for me, that's for sure. So the old shins cop a bit of a hiding after jogging for a while. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
It's just completely different, really. And you're 133, you said.
Exactly.
So
like that's that load management stuff. Like we don't need to run far. Like walking's good. Like just like not distance walking, but like just for like a good 30-minute walk when I can, I try to just like I do. I've been into my photography and stuff, so like that gives me a good outlet to go for a walk and chill out and do all that sort of thing. So more for that space of mine. But yeah, the distance stuff is not really for me. Like the most endurance that I might do is like 10 plus reps on something in the gym.
The hypertrophy.
Yeah, that's enough for me.
So what do you do for like instant power, like the box jumps? What else?
So like we have a very large like programming process of over the whole season. So like we're planned up to mid 2021 on just the way that we're supposed to progress. Sort of changing at the moment with the virus and with comps being cancelled and postponed, and and we don't really know how the season's going to look yet. So at the moment we're still just going ahead with how we normally would, and like it's been good because we haven't had to peak or anything this season so far because we're basically qualified. Like so the qualification process for Tokyo is you either get a single distance like an automatic qualifier, or you just got to stay in the top 32, and I'm currently 8th on the rankings, 7th on the rankings, and it's off top 5 performances on that average, so I'm fine in that facet, so which is nice because then I don't have to take time away from progressing my body. I can actually keep going up instead of go here and then try and throw far to get like a distance or whatever and then try and build up again. I can just continuously raise up. So at the moment, like our maximum power output stuff, we'd focus more on it's like I said, like combination between strength and speed. So we'll do a lot of my leg work is around for strength is deadlifts. Deadlifts
like Romanian deadlift. Like
more sumos.
Okay.
Just because of the way that the hips are set during like a standing throw and throughout the turning, actually really suits a sumo. I used to do conventional, but we also like vary it. So we'll do standards, we'll do sumos, we'll do from blocks, we haven't done as much negative work. And then also trap bars as well. A lot of the time we'll do trap bars for like a set load, very heavy load, and then try and strong and then release it.
Yeah.
And then that kind of stuff, and then your ultimate speed stuff. So you'd have sprints, ankling, bounds, standing jumps, box jumps, all that kind of thing.
And is that all in one? So you would do like your deadlifts and everything like that, and then move on to, or are they different days?
Sometimes we contrast. So sometimes our contrasting would be say if we did like a trap bar deadlift. So we do around, depending on the timing of the programming, we might go up to between 75 to 85, maybe 90% of RM, single RM, and then maybe do 1 to 2s, and then contrast that with 30 seconds after with like doubles or triples for box jumps or leaps.
Yeah.
So we do contrast occasionally, but then sometimes, like currently we're doing 4 gyms a week, so we have to try and split it up just because it's a lot of load. So we try and give myself rest so I'm not overdoing it and over damaging during that training. So
so 4 times a week?
Yeah, 4 gym sessions a week. But then like if I, when we bring jumps back in, it'll probably be on like say a Tuesday morning or a Thursday morning, pre-throw, just to sort of like a little bit of neural wiring. I'll still be fatigued from it, but at least just trying to adapt things together. But yeah, so that's sort of like, we've got a massive like profile. So my coach is Ben Thompson. So I ended up parting with Graham when in 2018, mid 2018, just because like, so I grew up in Allora, I trained in Allora and Toowoomba, went to Toowoomba Grammar, trained with him there as well, and then when I've moved to Brisbane, it's sort of just been difficult with that in between. So now Benny Thompson's taken over programming and throws, and yeah, it's been a good change, just different stimulus and more bit more tracking with the way that the programming happens, which has been good. So like we have a big strength profile on, we do like a lot of our internal and external throughout my whole body, and then we pair that with my RMs and just try so it's easier to profile and know when I'm progressing and what to do.
And can they kind of predict how far you will throw by how you're going with your gym sessions?
We're getting close, yeah. Like we have a good understanding on what makes me throw far and when. My peaking,
what's that?
So like my peaking process used to take about 2 weeks for me to be able to freshen up and then get into sort of peak form. Now it's because obviously like your training age it comes into account, and like the amount of your age in general, and then also like when you train a lot more, it's harder to trick your body for stimulus, because obviously you always want to challenge it. So now it takes about 4 to 6 weeks of actually the peaking process. So what happens with that is that, so we reduce load moderately and then progress that through slowly, and then the explosive work will come up, load and reps will drop, and then it's more focusing on so like when you do a movement, no matter what it is, it's how hard and fast can you move that. So it's more about muscle recruitment and teaching your body how to accrue as much muscle potential as possible.
And are you eating more during this period?
Not as much. Like we like my dietitian Sally. So like we focus on, we just eat as much as what we need to. So like obviously we have our set programming of food and how much to intake with certain amount of, like certain training sessions that we know will fatigue me, but also just eating consistently and smart, and not eating crap. So
yeah. And does that mean like home cooked meals like rice and
so like a lot of brown rice, I love my pastas, but like good like whole grain pasta and all that, and then a lot of veg, a mix between like different meats as well as beans. Like I really enjoy sort of like, we do like a lot of Mexican sometimes. So like beans and mince and all that sort of stuff, which is really good. And then but just a good whole diet. And then like I'm allowed to like I have like certain treats and stuff like that. So where it's not you have to be totally strict down the line like 24/7 for the next 5 years. It's more like you do this, and then you can have sort of like a cheat meal, but it's not like I'm not going to eating friggin' I don't know, like a bucket of chocolate, but like just I can have those small things that keep you content, sort of thing. So
and do you feel like, have you always eaten like this?
Like back in 2017 I was weight, like I'm 134 now, but I was 130 back then, but it was a totally different body composition. I was pretty fat, so so at the end of 2017 I had a really bad season, and
what happened?
I think it was, I think it came down to overtraining. I think I got too wide from Rio, and like knowing that I was there, and like knowing I was at that level, and I could definitely take over, and keep progressing and do really, really well. But I just overtrained. I think I was too motivated, and I trained too much, and I lifted too much. I lifted too much weight, and just did everything way too much, and then also just got too heavy. So I was just slow. I was way too slow, and so by the time like I started Rio 26, I didn't throw this at Rio, but like my PB 2016 was 65.37, and which was a solid distance for my age. And then the end of the 2017 season, my worst throw, my worst throw on the comp was 52, and my best throw was 57. And I was just I threw that further than that when I was like 15. So I was like, oh my God. And like I knew I had Com Games coming out. So we made a lot of changes. I put a big team around me. So we call it Team Danny, but like, you know, coach, S&C, physio, sports psych, dietitian, biomech, like just a whole crew of people. So 2017, in about 4 months, I went from 130. Sorry, I started in September, I think, and then by the time I got to Com Games, I was about 115. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I was skinny.
Was that food and training, or what was the main?
Mainly, that was food.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my training load was less.
And did you feel better, like physically and mentally?
I felt more athletic. I felt faster. I felt like just better self-body image and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good. It was a good choice. But yeah, it was just smart eating and just eating when I need to, and having consistent meals, but also having enough time in between where I'm just going into fasting. And then
do you do fasting?
Not intermittent fasting, but enough where my body, like obviously I'm not going into a period. I'm eating at a deficit, but I'm not eating in so much of a deficit where I'm losing muscle mass. So it's having that little buffer.
Do you mean that by food, a deficit?
Yeah, food, yeah. So I'm just eating at a slight energy deficit where I'm still eating enough to recover and get enough protein to my muscles and carbohydrates to feel good for my next session, but not enough where it's a surplus of what my body needs. So then it dives into my muscle fat, my body fat stores, and then takes. You
would just go back to where you were. Yeah, you would get bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So we did a pretty good. Like Sally did an awesome job at programming that, and then obviously I had to follow it. And
did you find that hard? Like the reason why I ask is because people that might be listening might be on a weight loss journey, let's say, and when someone gives them a plan like a PT, it's like, oh shit, how am I going to do that? Like just the mental side to get around that can be so challenging. How did you?
To me, it wasn't hard because of the fact that I had a goal on why, and I wasn't happy with I think definitely not rock bottom mentality of that, but I definitely wasn't happy with it was a massive wake up call, right? I absolutely felt I felt terrible. I was throwing bad. I was just in such a bad place. I just hated everything. And I knew that weight was a part of that, with the fact that I was throwing badly. I just wasn't moving fast. So that for the Com Games in 2018 being in Australia, I was like, well, you know, I need to be ready for this. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So so that really motivated me to make sure that I was bing bang boom. The vibe before that, leading into, you couldn't miss. It was just sort of that mentality of leading into it. So I didn't find it a struggle. Dropping weight now is harder. I find one, because you the more that you drop weight and fluctuate, the harder it is to drop weight at a later date. So, you know, I'm dropping weight at the moment, I'm trying to trim up, but it's not, I find it harder. I don't see as quick results compared to what I used to. But I'm also my body composition when I was 115 then, I think I was at 91, 92 kilos muscle mass. So I think so like lean mass. I think it was 91. But now I'm 100.
Yeah.
Like lean mass. So like my body composition is 100% different.
Yeah.
So I'm less inclined to be trim, and like I understand, like I don't like being like having a bit of a belly and all that sort of stuff, but you know, it's sort of part of the game, considering that I'm versing guys that are 6'10" and 160, and I'm 6'5" and 130, so I'm already at like a deficit. So I just need to be smart with that. Like we've put on a lot of muscle mass, and we will continue to do that, but we sort of, you know, I think I put on 4 kilos in about 2 months of muscle mass. 3 kilos, I think 3 months. But then obviously a kilo of fat came with that as well. So it's just being smart with how much do we need? Is it slowing me down? No. Then okay, cool. That's okay. Like I can have that as extra momentum if I'm using it properly. If it's slowing me down, then we just drop it back and then just account for that. So yeah, but for people that like would be trying to drop, I'd recommend having a goal on why, like have a reason. That's what we talk about a lot in sport with like my sports psych, is like if you understand what your reason, what your why is, and like why you want to do that, why this is important to you, and then you understand on how to do it. If you put the two together, you're sweet. You'll knock it over. So understand those two things and you'll be fine.
And I think a lot of people get confused, right? So they go, my reason why is I just want to feel good about myself.
Yeah.
But it's like diving deeper.
Yeah.
What is it really?
Yeah. I even now, like I still like, it's not that I struggle, but I definitely don't enjoy being heavy, like body fat heavy, when I am sometimes, but I'm trying to learn to be okay with that, even though I don't like that. Like I don't want to be, like I'm not obese, but yeah, I don't like the stereotypical like, oh, you need to be like just fat and heavy to be a discus thrower. Like you need to be athletic and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's been good when I made that change, because my body composition is so much different to what it used to be.
So let's say your season's over for good now. What would you do with your physique? Would you trim down more? Or what would you?
So say if like I finished, like my year was finished, and so like say for 2019 it was the same thing. So I finished my season in September, and then I had 3 weeks off, and I came back and we went straight into like hypertrophy work and general strength training. And yeah, it was just mainly hypertrophy stuff. So we just have a set weight really, and then each week out of like the 3 months, the exercise would change, but I'd have a set weight, and then I would progress that weight slightly. But each time I progressed the weight, I still had to beat the reps, my maximum reps from the week before.
Okay.
So I actually had a really good first 4 weeks. So I started, say with like trap bar deads. So I started at like 160, and I think I took 160 for like a ride on 9 or 10, and then that was about 4 sets. And then by the end of the 4 weeks, I took 190 for 17, and then I did that for like 4 or 5 sets. So like just like it was brutal. Like it destroyed me, but didn't destroy me so much where I was like ultimately fatigued and I couldn't do things. So like moving that, and then doing like sets of 12s on squats, sets of 12s to 15s, and which sucks. It's like
it's different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. But I've also found like the more I do a movement, especially in gym, whether it's fast or just like mid rep, like doing 5 to 10 reps, my strength like shoots through the roof. So that was really good. Like we got both benefits. So I put on a lot of muscle mass, and I also got very, very strong. And then we're in this new phase. So we started about 3 weeks ago of like a new eccentric phasing work. So it's like a 5-week cycle on like heavy eccentric loads for the first 2 weeks. So like 5-second drop work and then exploding out of it. And then this week we're in the 3rd week currently. So where it's more like concentric work. So just standard lifts, move it fast, and move like moderate weight really fast. And then
is that to shock them, like the body again?
It's to shock it, but like there's some research that has shown that like eccentric loading patterns actually increased concentric power output because you're reversing the muscle fibers on the way that it loads.
Yeah.
It probably isn't completely scientifically correct terminology wise, but they're just showing that because obviously a lot of people, it's just always concentric contractions instead of teaching the body how to take the load and reverse it and then reverse out of it. And so it's like a very good strength builder, but also like just muscle recruitment, and it's a lot more damaging to the muscles and teaching them how to repair.
Because it's that time under tension.
Yeah, exactly. So the time under tension is one of the biggest key parts of it. So doing that and then slowly weaning off it into concentric work with we've done this massive load through eccentric, then we do the concentric work on the third week, and then the last 2 weeks of ballistic work, so everything's releasable.
Oh, I love ballistic work.
Yeah, so doing a lot of ballistic stuff, just maximum output, and like that maximum speed thing I was talking about with how much muscle recruitment can you get, and that's sort of like pairing all those three together with the ballistic work at the end. So we're trialling that at the moment. We've nearly finished week 3, and then we'll do ballistics and carry on with that. So I think if like when we reset again in September, it'll be like a marriage between those two. So like I'll still continue to get stronger and a lot more muscle mass, considering I'm versing guys at 160. So I think my like.
So what happens so the Olympics is in July.
End of July, yeah.
And so you would be training ballistic through that period.
So we'd probably finish ballistic work. My qualifying is on the 31st of July. So yes, 30th July. Yeah, end of July. And so we'd probably finish, I reckon, ballistic work 3 to 4 weeks, probably 4 weeks before my final. And then we would just focus on rest and maximum throwing output. So slight overweight stimuluses and just maximum hard out effort work. So just throwing as hard and fast as possible with maximum recovery. And then by the time I get there, I'll be fresh.
So what happens? So if say the Olympics is on hold now,
yep.
What happens to your training? Do you just adapt as time goes on, or?
Well, currently, our Brisbane Queensland Track Classic just got cancelled. That was supposed to be on Friday, and then Nationals is postponed currently, and no one knows what's going to happen with the European season currently. The Diamond League just announced that they've postponed their first 3 Diamond Leagues, which doesn't really affect us, Disc, because they've just recently pulled it out last year. But at the same time, that's not a good sign if they're postponing Diamond Leagues. They're the last ones that they would want to. So we don't really know.
You don't know what's going to happen.
We don't know what's going to happen with the season. Obviously, everyone's sort of what's going on.
Yeah, because you're kind of preparing yourself for 4 years for this time.
It's when everything got postponed and cancelled on the Saturday, Sunday, I was pretty sad on Sunday. I was just thinking, what's happening? I didn't panic and go buy toilet paper and everything like that, but it's sort of there was a bit of weird vibes. Everyone was just sort of what do we do? We don't know what is going to happen. We don't. It's right. It's hard being an athlete and not everyone knows what their purpose is, but when your purpose is, you're in peak, not peak. Yeah, you're in competing hard and you're ready for these comps, and then they just disappear, and it's where is my direction? Obviously Olympics is still a direction, but you also want those middle comps to continue to piece things together, because
and to motivate you and to drive you.
Exactly. Yeah, and we don't train to train, we train to compete. So it's a bit rough at the moment, and obviously Olympics are still planning to go ahead, so that's the main focus. But the good thing for myself and Micro is that we know that we're still trialing this eccentric work, and how we respond to that, and making sure that we confirm whether this is a good or bad thing. But like the way that we've responded in like the last 3 weeks has been really good. So, it's more just progressing on that. So if we get to the end of the 5 weeks and we're just throwing out of our skin, then we'll just continue that progress. And if a comp comes up, then sweet. So it's more damaging to a lot of athletes when like they rely on like athletics as their moneymaker. Yeah. And this is your job. Yeah. But that you have no comps to compete at. So it's like frustrating.
It's like stressful, and then
but it's sort of just trying to tune out and just focus on the performance. So it's a bit rough at the moment for everyone.
And let's say you get the coronavirus. What happens? Do you instantly you're out? Or do you know anything about that?
Olympics?
Yeah.
We don't know. Like obviously they got the
like do
quarantine. But I don't know. I literally have no idea. Like AOC have been consistently updating us with like just like health regulations, new laws that are coming in, and just how to like attack it and prevent it, and just to be smart with it. So like that's sort of where we're at. But if I get it, I don't know.
Just see what happens.
I think like obviously I would go into self-isolation, but I think what I would do is I would go out to back out to Allarat and quarantine myself there, because mum and dad have a caravan and I can just literally, like, we have a farm of 50 acres, so I can just go down pretty much to the barn and stay there and have food in there, and then I can continue to train at least. But I don't plan on getting it, but who knows. But then I still have to find out whether that would be even okay, or whether I have to just stay in
your quarantine.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting time, and I think
it's pretty crazy. Like,
I think too, like what you're saying, like the athletes that rely on that income, like if they were to get it, holy hell, like what do they do? Like, I just don't know. Like it depends on how quickly the virus goes away, and all that kind of thing. If you quarantine properly, and then who's been infected, and all that kind of thing. So I think I don't really know, to be honest. So we just got to play it by ear.
Yeah,
it could be really nothing. It could be just like a hit us and then blow over.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Like I don't know. All I know is like the main thing that the athletes just have to do is just continue to train, and then if that happens, then
deal with it.
So like there's not much you can do really. So it's just continue on.
So tell me about like when you were talking about like when you train leading up to the Olympics, you do maximum throws and then you have your recovery. Yep. What does recovery involve? Like obviously you have days off, but are you doing like ice baths? Are you doing like sauna? Like what do you do?
So currently, like usually my recovery would be I'd try and have one sauna a week. And then usually I do either hot and cold contrast. But at the moment, I haven't actually been doing any. I've just been doing compression boots, so like Normatec boots. So they've been really, really good.
And what does that do for you?
So Normatec's just, so it's just circulating blood. So you put like compression boots, they fill up with air and they cycle the blood out of legs. And it's mainly for legs, but it also just helps full body circulation with blood. So it's sort of just pushing blood through the body and like helping with inflammation, and I don't think it slows down inflammation, but I think that it helps with
flushing it properly.
Yeah, just flushing it properly. So I've been really finding they actually help me a lot. But usually I would have a sauna and ice bath, but the recovery centre at QIS has been under maintenance at the moment, so we haven't been able to do ice baths. So
yeah, and the sauna would be perfect for right now. You'll kill anything if you...
I love saunas. They're so good. Like just good flush out and...
For everything though.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just feel... I mean, I have to make sure that I like drink a lot of water and hydrolyte and stuff when I'm in there. Yeah. Because I've had points where I've come out after like half an hour, 45 minutes. It's been like hot as, and I just like space cadet.
Really?
Like, just like... Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like I remember I was on the way. I did one sauna one day, and I didn't have as much hydration. I got in the car and I drove home, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and she's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was just and I got home. She couldn't believe how spaced out I was. I was just sort of like, where am I?
Yeah.
It was so weird. But yeah,
Must have been lacking something. Must have sweated out.
I don't know, sweated something out. But but then we just found like I just had to have more, especially like electrolyte stuff to just keep me a bit sharper when I come out. So, because the last thing you want to do is drive when feeling absolutely whacked out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so tell me about, like, have you had any injuries? Like, because you're...
we actually had this discussion the other day. The boys were like some of the other athletics boys, they're like, "You never get injured." I said, just smart with training. Yeah, it's...
Do you think that's why, though?
Yeah, it's just like, I have my own things about, I think that it's down from two things. One is when I grew up, I had a lot of training load. So like, I had work under myself and we were smart with the way I trained. But like, when I was young, I developed really, really smart and did a lot of work, not heavy stuff, just like medium range, higher rep, did everything. I just like a lot of hypertrophy, like fatigue work, but being smart about the way we did that and doing all movements, not just like, all right, just do deads and do squats and do bench and that's it. Like we just did every single movement possible. And then, so which led to a really good base for me as an adult. So I had just good, strong muscles that were well worked and actually understand how to handle training load.
Yeah.
And then also like now it's just about like maintenance and being smart with how you train. So...
Because people, when they want to do something right, they just go completely too fast, too hard.
Yeah, and then I think my coach was a bit scared about when I was coming back from world champs, because like obviously I was in peak form, I threw a PB, and then I came back 3 weeks after, and the thing about that was like I would have been able to just throw absolutely maximum pace and probably still have somewhat most of my peak power from what I had in September. But like doing that and having like a peak training load, like just spiking my training load, like probably just tear something off the bone. So it was like, he was very adamant of easing back into things, which was like, I totally agreed with. But I think some people go, like super motivated, I want to go back and train. And then they just go back into the same training load that they had when they're in peak condition, but they haven't got that workload. So then, so many studies have shown that when you peak training load off not much conditioning, that's where usually either during that peak or somewhat after it is where you'll get an injury.
Okay.
So we're just smart about like training load and like feeling the body. How does my body feel? If I feel too fatigued, then we either ease the training back or we just leave it. Just being on top of everything. Like I have consistent massage and physio every week. But I 100% believe it's down to just training load management. I don't think people understand that enough to be able to say if they're injured from something else.
Yeah. So what would you recommend for people listening then? Like that maybe don't have a coach, how would they attack that situation so that they don't get an injury?
Try and understand load management. So try and understand what your current training load is and being able to like quantify it and turn it into data and then track it. So then you're able to say, okay, well, like we track in tonnage, and we used to do a lot of RPE scale work, but we're doing less of that, and it's more about just the load tracking. So say for week 1 I do 10 ton, and then week 2 I do 20, 30, 40, and then usually on the 5th week we'll ease back to say 15. So it's just progressively going like that. So I'm not going 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I'm actually going 40, then back to probably 15, and then end up at 45, 50, and then 20, and then 65, sort of thing like that. So just continuously progressing, and then tracking like how much conditioning you have and how much rest you've had, and then being smart about like the exercise you do. So like obviously maximum force output with like, you know, dead, snatch, like all your heavy lifts, and also like sprints work, jump, where you're just putting a lot of stress through your body is where if you haven't got much conditioning but you have good power output is where you can lead to like stress injuries, stress reactions, tearing and all that sort of stuff, and just like learn how your body works as well. Like you know, we also track the fact that like my mental load, like just like the way that whatever's happening in life, like stress or not sleeping well or just general things that are stressing you out, can lead to a negative training impact. And if you're like fatigued from like mental issues, mental issues, but like stress and all that kind of thing, then that will raise your injury rate as well. So understanding that, like
and
I
that's
said,
the same thing. You stress out, you don't get sleep, and then it's like, then of course you're not going to be fresh for your training. Yeah. So you're more likely.
If you're not recovered properly as well, like your food as well, and just keeping the right nutrients in your body and in your muscles, and just being smart with that. So, like the good thing is like we learnt everything in my daily environment to understand. Okay, well this is how much this impact. Like mental energy is a big thing for me. Like we even noticed, like after the weekend, right? Like I came into Monday's session really fresh. I was pretty fresh. Body wise, I was supposed to be. But after everything just going on, and like it's pretty draining looking at the news and not trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and you know, things getting cancelled, and you just sort of like everyone's in a bit of shock, like, oh well, like we've just lost our like main two comps, and the way to make money in this current season and all that sort of stuff. So it's sort of like a bit of a drawback. And then like when I went to training, I was just like so drained, but I didn't do anything for 3 days. Because we had like an easy couple of days, but that was like the key thing that just fatigued me, like just stress and yeah, just mental fatigue. And even like with uni and study like that'll fatigue you. It's just sort of learning your whole output. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I can relate to a few of those things, and same as like what you were saying, like with the hard output, like when I do like plyometric days, the next day I'm like, oh my god, this is my weights day, I'm not going to do heavy lifts. I take it lighter and think of it more like a stretch and try and open up the body. And
and then like and the thing with that is like the more like if you have that consistency, then like after say like 3 or 4 weeks, then you might be able to say, okay, well I'm actually adapted enough for my jumps to lead into bigger lifts, so that I can actually follow the two. But if someone just said, oh, you know, like I like the idea of doing this, and I'm just immediately going to do it hard out, they'll be injured within the week or two. So it's like it's just giving your body time to adjust, because it always will, no matter what. So it's sort of give it the time to adjust to it, and then incrementally increase, and that's how you get good conditioning and good load management. And staying away from injuries. So yeah, I
totally agree. And like what you said, nutrition is huge.
Yeah, that's your massive one, is being, if you don't have the right nutrition in your body and recovered, then that's, if you're too fatigued, you will get injured again. So so
telling me about talking about nutrition, right? I'm vegan, and I know you said meat before. Would you consider ever going vegan?
I wouldn't. Just because of the fact that I enjoy meats. Like I love like slow cooked meat and all that sort of stuff. Like I understand, like especially with the carcinogenic stuff, but we have a good mix of everything. Like I'm not just like straight meat all the time. Like I don't have steak every night of the week kind of thing. We vary that between red meat, white meat, and then also fish, like I said, with beans, and just different types of protein sources and stuff. So, and like, I enjoy my slow cooked meats as well, occasionally when I can. So, I don't think I could give that up. So.
But what about if someone said for your performance, right? Like, so you would see it in the athletic world happening right now, that more people are shifting towards that direction. Do you think that if you knew more about it, you would change your mind, or you're
I've understood some of it, like from what so like Morgan Mitchell, for example, like she's a big advocate for being vegan, and even just what she said and understanding it. But to myself, I feel like for the amount of like food that I do eat and the amount of like nutrition and training that I do, like I don't think I would either, one, be able to manage it, and two, be able to get enough nutrition into my body consistently doing it that way. But yeah, like it's just I find that my way, like my process is working quite well, so
why change it if
if
you're already working towards what, and it's working.
Yeah, exactly, it's working. So like I mean, it'd probably be different if someone said like hard proof that would exactly work for me, because some people it does work for, some people it doesn't, and it's sort of like depending on the person and their style of lifestyle and their nutrition, their previous nutrition, and the way that it worked for them. So I think it can be a little bit situational with the way that it affects different people, and especially with sport, like because it's working, like
you stick to
exactly.
And then what about stimulus? Do you take anything, like say it's comp day, do you take anything like caffeine prior to your event, or you
so I have so usually my process is mainly caffeine, so I enjoy my coffee anyway, like whether it's for caffeine output or not, but usually we worked out like the maximum for my body is about 600 ml of caffeine. So we have between 300 to 500 ml, depending on how I'm feeling. Like if I'm fresh and awake and it's a right time of the day, like a late afternoon sort of thing, don't need as much. But like I do find when I have a higher dose of because like obviously I'm a larger guy, it takes a lot of caffeine for me to actually get a stimulation from it. So mainly that. Sometimes we have the Revy strips, sometimes Revy strips, and then just like a little bit of sugar and stuff like that during a comp to keep that keep glucose high and just good feels. So
good feels.
Good feels. The worst part, like, it's the timing of it is key for me. If I have to, like, I feel that if I have things too early, then I drop off the cliff too quick. But I've had it less. I don't feel super fatigued, but mine's like more energy management. So like say at World Champs in 2019, like last year in September, like when I competed, I threw a PB in the first round. And I just had this like massive shoot of adrenaline, like I was just on top of it. But I think I didn't manage that energy well. So then by the time I got to even just like round 3, 4 and 5 and 6, I was actually quite drained. I was like I think the caffeine plus the adrenaline plus all of like just everything. I think because I just did that, well, like that was the first time I've thrown first PB in 3 years. So it's just like, I was waiting so long for that. So it's massive like drop of adrenaline and like relief. And I think that I didn't manage that well, and then my body was like just slowly shutting down. It had enough of that. So managing that's pretty key for me, especially for this year. Like if I get into the form that I should and just continuously progress and throw PBs, it's about managing that. And if I manage that energy, then I can throw more consistently. And in the later rounds,
How do you manage that though? Like, how do you know what to do?
It's separating emotion from performance. So say if I throw a PB that I've been waiting for forever, it's quite like.
Is it like because you're so elated, you're so excited,
exactly.
so it's bringing you back down to like a poised state?
Yeah, well,
is that what you mean?
Like basically, if you think about it, like you have like a super high moment in your life, and you had to wait 3 years for that next high, and but you had to like work your ass off for that 3 years and try to get back to maybe doing that. Your body, when it happens, your body's just like,
hallelujah.
Yeah, exactly. You're elated with emotion and stuff. So the best way to do it is just being able to turn not like how would you say, like sort of like a job, in the fact that you do the performance and you get the job done first, and then you can celebrate after. So just perform, understand it, be super strict and business like about it, being very down the line, and knowing that, like, especially the fact that like I understand that is an issue now, is managing that.
So what do you tell yourself? Like, what do you think you would tell yourself now?
Yeah, like, well, how would...
Are you doing like a lot of self-talk? Like, I'm just trying to understand, like, say like you've thrown it.
So it's more like, so the way that like I attack the throw is because, so say we're at a level, we're at, what's the levels of learning?
Stage 1. Oh, okay. I'm like stage 1. No, that I know what you're talking about. But now yeah. Now I can't remember. So there's like the physical. I forget what that one is called.
Anyway, you know what I mean. But like, so by the time you get to that, like when you're competing, you should be able to be quite simple in your approach, because it's, you've learnt all the complex learning, and then it's basically about just letting your body do that movement. So understanding if you need to have single cues, then just doing that, but just connecting to the throw and understanding, okay, well, I need to relax, do this, and go as hard as humanly possible and get the performance, and then, but repeat that 6 times. And then if that's all good, then you can celebrate after, instead of just smashing one and then like celebrating and stuff like that you smash that one. But sort of like understanding, if you do that, you'll get fatigued, and then you might not be able to build on that in the competition, instead of just sort of like consistency. So yeah, it's very hard to separate emotion from performance.
That would be a time thing, like learning over.
Yeah, exactly. Considering that like you do it because you love it, and it's like an absolute like genuine interest in it that you're invested in. So it's sort of hard to like distance those two. But when you do it, I think that's where you get better more consistent performances, and you understand the throw. And like when I threw 2 weeks before World Champs, I threw like a big PB in training, so further than what I threw at World Champs, and like that was the first time I've thrown a PB in 3 years. And yeah, like I got super emotional about it, because I was just like, couldn't believe, like, it's not like I couldn't believe, but I was just like waiting so long, and like I knew it was there, and it's just like, you get like, I got teary and stuff, because I was just like, I finally like figured it out, and it's the right time and all that sort of stuff, like I'm doing this right. So yeah, it's hard, but when you can do it, you'll become a better athlete.
And also like what you're saying, becoming a better athlete, like with the time factor, you're probably realizing that, how could I have made that better, that movement, even though it was a PB for you, you could critique it and then work out, and that might help bring you back down off the pedestal. And
I so obviously through a PB, it was the best distance by an Australian in a major champs ever, and I was still only 23 and all that kind of stuff, and like you would think, and I got 6, like, right, and you'd think, like, he'd be pretty stoked with that. I was pretty dirty after the comp, because I knew that I actually had an opportunity to win. Yeah. Like the winning throw was 67.30. Everyone thought it was going to be 70 because Stahl had a big year this year. But he only threw 67.5, and I thought I had that there like leading up that year, through all last year, and I knew I had a big throw there. But I think that like my energy conservation and like looking at technically, like I technically could have done things better. So that was really frustrating for me, because I've always wanted to be like the athlete that finds that extra gear when you need it, no matter what. And I just wasn't able to find it. So that was pretty frustrating. So that was sort of like this whole year is like just being able to find the extra gear no matter what when you need it. So, yeah.
How did you deal with that mentally? Like after, like.
I was pretty angry. Like I was pretty frustrated, and I was verbally frustrated as well. Like I saw.
Because you couldn't take that out on your training because that would affect your like body, physique.
Exactly. Well, like after I finished competing, like I was done. Like I had 3 weeks off. But it was just more like just verbal frustrations. Like I caught up. Like I saw my sports psych and like as head coach and like we all work closely. And yeah, I was just like. They said good work and stuff. I was like, mate, that sucked. Like, I understand, like, I threw a PB and that's good and I'm happy about that. But, like, in essence, like, I was not happy with that performance. And my sports psych, like, he totally understood. And all of them did, like, when I explained it to him. But a lot of other athletes and a lot of other people were like, oh, you know, like, you should be so happy with that. And, you know, great performance and stuff. And I was like, oh, you know, like, I'm not actually happy with that. Like that wasn't the athlete that I should have been on that day. And they're like, oh, you know, like you'll get it later and like you'll come around and stuff. And I was like, that's not really, like I'm not here to get 6th, I'm not here to get 4th, all that sort of stuff. Like I'm here to like win the sport and be the best at it. So, you know, when I had an opportunity to win and I didn't take it, that was really frustrating. So yeah, it's easy for people to say, oh, you know, you should be happy with that. I'm like, well, I'm putting my life on the line, like not, well, yeah, like physically, like it's not an easy sport. So like, I'm putting my life dedicated to this and like, I didn't do what I should have. So of course I'm going to be frustrated. It's sort of like a kick in the knee when people say you should be happy with that. It's like, well, no, I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
You don't know what I want to do. So like, don't tell me how I should feel about it. So, yeah.
But that's probably giving you more discerning, like desire to move forward now to the Olympics and give it even more and be more fine-tuned in your nutrition and everything like that. Because, you know, like it's like anything in life, 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, 6 forward, you know.
Like, yeah, it was, I think the other killing part to us was that like we knew I had a massive throw sitting there because I had connected it the 2 weeks before Italy and also in a couple of comps throughout the season. But I just like I literally, if that's the ring, like I towed it and it was classed as a foul. So that was like I knew it was there. So I was just like, you know, world champs, like let's just piece it together. And yeah, just didn't get the absolute full piece of the pie on those throws. So yeah, so like, and it does give me like I wrote a like a peaceful runners tribe a couple of months ago, and I just said like this whole year is just more about like learning and teaching myself no matter what, like to be able to step up when you need it and like perform. And because that's like what makes all the great athletes great is like they had all this pressure, they had all of this like expectation on this exact moment, and they found it when they were supposed to. And that's what made that moment so amazing, was like you stepped up, you were like an absolute boss at like finding that. And that's what I want to do, is being able to just find it no matter what. So it's just a way of learning how to do that, like within yourself and like your mental attitude and just finding that extra energy when you need it. So yeah.
So what would be your 3 top tips for the listeners? Like I know like you're telling us now, like you just got to find it within yourself, but what would you say the 3 top tips for anybody out there that is wanting to progress forward in their particular goal?
I always say that you should always, like whatever you're doing, just do it with like passion and love and focus on what it, like, doesn't matter whether it's work or a sport or like or a hobby or whatever it is. Like if you really love doing it, it will be easy to become extremely good at it and also like be the best at it because you actually genuinely invested in it. Like it's sort of like saying, well, what's something you really don't like? What's a sport you don't like?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I probably would like them all, but
Yeah.
I haven't done them all.
Say you don't like soccer. But
Okay.
someone says you need to go be the best in the world at soccer. You're not going to be the best in the world because you're not genuinely invested in that, right?
Yeah, got you, yeah.
So it's like not listening to what people say you should do. It's more, what do I want to do no matter what other people say? So finding that and just committing to that no matter what, like just finding something you genuinely enjoy in life. Doing that and then understanding it. So learn everything about it, learn how to do it, why you do it, and how to be the best at it, and then put people around you that will help you get to that. So that, especially like those three, especially in a sporting sense, is like those are your three key things. Find what you really love, learn everything about it, and then put people around you that will help you get to it. Because like say for me example, I'm just really a reincarnation of like people's knowledge and skills and expertise within the event, and also just in sport and like biomechanics and dietitians and sports psych, and they're just like they're putting their knowledge into me, and I'm just reproducing that in a moment that is, you know, can be scrutinized on like whether you perform or not. So that's why like I'm the athlete I am, is because I have great people around me, and also because I have like I love the sport and I'm genuinely invested in it. So you put all those together, you're unbeatable.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's great advice. And I think like you're absolutely right. You have all the expertise, they've got their own thing, they're going to have the best knowledge for you possible. So of course you're going to rise above other people that haven't done that.
Well, like I'm not an expertise in dietitian, but you know, I know someone who is, and she teaches me, and I try and educate myself as much as possible and learn from her. And the more that you learn from, not just be told, but learn from those people, then you can then return that later in life when like whether you're coaching or whatever it is, and teaching people what you know about it. So it's just like that like cycle of life on progressing and
learning from your own experience.
Exactly. So, you know, using their experiences to then shape yours, and then learn from your experiences, then shape someone else's, and just learn and teach. So yeah.
Yeah, they say that living with a purpose, which is...
Yeah, exactly. That's 100%. Like, life's boring if you don't have a purpose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then teaching back is what helps to, you know, live that fulfilling life, which I think is fantastic that you're on that with you.
Yeah.
Do you think that you'll go into coaching later?
I do coaching currently.
Okay.
But I think when I'm finished with the sport, I will still stay within it. Like I'll definitely coach here and there, and I've always had a business idea of like supporting rural athletes, just because like I was a rural athlete and I came from like an area that didn't have high performance sport, and being able to offer that to rural athletes. So sort of like a QAS but for rural communities, and being able to like teach high performance, bring clubs and individual athletes and all that sort of stuff together that help progress them, and then sort of have that stepping stone instead of having to drive 5 hours. I think it's more than 6 or 7 hours or whatever it is from Roma to get to Brisbane because you're a top footy player. And do that 5 times a week. Like that's just not where it's at. It's the least if you can bridge that gap where you don't, because I always believe that like the best athletes in Australia come from rural areas.
Why do you think that?
I think they're just bred tougher, because nothing's like everything you have to individually find for yourself. You need to go, you need to travel, you need to always be like committed to it, and you just have to find a way no matter what. I'm not saying city people are soft, but I'm like it's easier to get to facilities within the city because there's so much of it. But considering that we had to build this discus circle at home just to be able to like train at home, saving to travel back and forth to Toowoomba, and then, you know, put a gym in my at home at mum and dad's, and then, you know, just always trying to find a way to better yourself and do that. So yeah, just a bit more grit.
And probably devoted, like what you're saying,
exactly.
like finding a way.
Like like farmers, for example. Like farmers are the toughest people in the world. Like they work like absolute dogs, and they're just absolutely committed no matter what. So I think that transfers over. So.
Well, thank God I'm from Bundaberg.
Yeah. Exactly.
How funny. Well, it's been lovely having you on the show, and thank you for sharing like your knowledge and your tips for all the listeners.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. It's good to just discuss things, and hopefully people get some lessons out of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if the Olympics is on, we will definitely be tuning in to Matt's Instagram. I'll pop it all in the show details so that we can watch you.
Thank you. Cheers. Well, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening in, guys. If you're on Apple, please leave a 5-star written review. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All right, I'll see you next week with the next inspiring story.